Hello, this is Overlord Bo, back with another information video, and today we're going to be going over the worst tech tree ships to play in World of Warships in 2024. So let's start it off. The Delny and Regula lines. We're going to start off with the DDs, and these two are currently the worst DD lines to play in World of Warships, currently as of 2024 for destroyers. And SAT Screen, you want to tell us particularly why?
So Delny is a very survivable gunboat. She has a 50 millimeter side armor, can use smokes or heals, reasonably fast, and has both reasonable long range, has 10-kilometer torpedoes and long range guns. The problem is she's very survivable, but her DPM is pretty bad. So enemies could actually ignore you for a while and just focus on more important threats.
Yep, that is
And
very true.
mhm. As for the Regolo, she has a very awkward playstyle where you're encouraged to use fuel smokes and to use SAP. The problem is SAP tends to have issues against more heavily armored ships, especially since they're more common at tier 10. And her smokes also kind of get hard countered by the Russian 12-kilometer radars. She also has a very awkward playstyle, and she uh, requires at least a 14 point captain to even function. Her short gun range also hampers her a lot.
Yeah, that gun
And
range is
outside of
terrible.
Yep, and outside of smoke, she is very easy to hit. So she does well at like literally, if she has like a few niches she does well at, like smashing lightly armored ships. Occasionally, if she's allowed to get close, destroy other destroyers. But for the most part, she's a very awkward ship to use, and a lot of players will have difficulty trying to get her to work. And frankly speaking, it's not worth the effort when you can just get another good destroyer and just do it better.
Yep, exactly. So moving on to the cruisers, we have the Yodo and the Junon. And the reason why both of these are here is mainly because they are torpedo boat lines, where they're more focused on the actual torpedoing and not as much as guns. I know that both the Junon and the Yodo both got buffed with their guns a little bit, but it still doesn't outweigh the fact that both of these ships are very squishy. And in this current meta, where if you're a torpedo boat, if no one's pushing you, you're not going to do anything in that match. You're doing absolutely nothing. So that's why, to me, the Yodo and the Janon are the worst for those particular reasons.
hmm
But what are your thoughts on those, SAT? Anything you want to add to that besides what I said, or you think that covers it?
that pretty much covers it. It's just it's just the design that makes them not very good. Torpedoes are pretty unreliable to start with, and unlike destroyers, they don't get the spotting bonus that kind of gives them like a utility aspect. They're essentially damage farming cruisers, but without reliable damage farming.
Yep, exactly. So moving on to the battleships, the it was a tiebreaker on the final two, but one of the top worst tech tree line battles at this point is the Republic. The Republic can still smash both BBs and cruisers alike, but compared to the rest of the tech tree line tier 10s, it's just flat out the worst. It's extremely squishy, and the fact that you have one turret in the front and one turret in the rear, and the fire angles for these are really poor. So it makes it where you're going to be easily be able to be farmed, and you also have 32 millimeter armor all around the ship, which makes your ship just a giant sitting duck for farm from any HE throwing cruiser in the game. So you're not going to be having a fun time at all when playing the ship in the current meta. They Poison and the Colombo, they're pretty much a tied for second and third for the worst, mainly due to the fact that poison can be used in ranked is the main reason why. Like, it does have decent guns, and the ship is tanky. But a lot of the time, if you want to take a brawling tier 10, you just want to take like probably tier 10 BB. You're going to take the Schlieffen or you're going to take the GK. The poison's more of the middle child where you can do some long range shooting and then brawl if you want to build into that. But in the current meta, it's very painful in randoms. But in ranked, it is able to be played. The Columbo suffers from the fact that the whole line is pretty much terrible, except for the tier 9 and the tier 10. And the fact that it takes a lot more skill to use than the rest of the lines due to the fact it's SAP and AP is the main reason. In randoms, it can be quite painful with having CVs and subs around. In ranked, you are able to bring it in, but the Columbo does have some issues when dealing with brawler battleships. Its one main upside is the fact that the rear turrets are 360 and it has some of the best gun angles in the game. But other than that, compared to competitive play, all these three of these ships aren't really they haven't been used too much as of late.
Hmm. Columbo's accuracy, well, and the rest of the line leaves a lot to be desired. It's pretty nice when the stars do line up and your sap literally smashes a broadside cruiser or a battleship for 20-30k of their health. But also, just as often, you'll see your shells go off in the Narnia, and you're gonna wonder why did they only take like 3k damage.
Yeah, I've had that issue happen a lot. It is super aggravating when you have 16 guns. It's like the worst feeling is you see a broadside battleship and only do 3k. It's just you just want to, yeah. It's not fun. Not fun. So moving on to the final two classes, we have CVs. And the worst CV line we have picked is going to be the Richthofen line. The main two reason is that when this line first came out, the Richthofen was one of the top CVs for its time. But when the rocket change occurred, and when they made the dispersion of the dive bombers worse for the Richthofen, they pretty much just kicked it in the balls and made this thing super neutered and way it's pretty much just an underdog right now for the rest of the CVs. It's one of the worst in competitive, if there is competitive, and just good luck on the RNG for hitting anything with the dive bombers.
The line require like the AP bombs are very finicky. You have to get the science just right if you want to consistently hit the citadels, and that's just the non-RNG part. If Wargaming decides to if you line it up perfectly and Wargaming decides to throw all of your bombs to the outer parts of the reticule and miss the ship entirely, that's a unfortunate GG. And because yeah, like the Richthofen bombs hit hard when they actually hit. It's just that RNG usually conspires against you. It's okay, it's better against battleships, but against cruisers, you will really notice the RNG issues.
Yep, for sure, for sure. So for the final class is going to be the submarines, and we have chosen the Thrasher as the worst submarine line to go down. And the main reason is due to how slow it is. It does have a high potential of doing a lot of damage, but the fact that it is the slowest tech tree line, where this top speed on the surface is 26, and then when it's underwater, it's 18. If anyone sees you on the flank at tier 10, anyone, like you ping, and they know that you're a Thrasher over there, they're going to run you down. There's almost no fear on running you down unless your team is right behind you. They're going to W as fast as they can to you so you can't get away. You have almost no chance of surviving uh, if they figure out it's you on the flank, which it's not hard. All they have to do is do tab, and if there's one sub in the match, and there you go. They know it's a Thrasher, or they can tell from how many torpedoes you're throwing out or how much they're curving. It's not super hard to figure out what sub is on the flank from their different ping patterns or how many torps are being thrown out, because each of the tech tree lines have different pings for like the duration or how quickly they reload and how many torpedoes they're throwing out in each salvo. But I think that pretty much covers it for the worst tech tree lines in World Ships in 2024. If you guys have any questions or comments or your own picks for the worst tech tree lines in World of Warships, let us know, and we will talk to y'all later.